Bonjour amigos. So if I ask you what you own, chances are it's probably going to be quite a lot of different things, right? But I think the crazy thing is, I just realized there's only one thing we actually own in the entirety of the universe. And that's like our mind, our soul, call it what you like. But ultimately, that's the only thing that we can never like lose, because once we lose it, we die and it's kind of game over anyway. And I think the reason I've been thinking a lot about this is that oftentimes, especially when you're trying to build a business, when you're trying to make money, when you're trying to, work towards some goal, we do it with the end in mind that we're going to be able to buy some like new car, we're going to buy a new house, we're going to buy a fancy like, bit of clothing or whatever. But I kind of, in this video, I kind of want to convince you why I think that's a complete waste of time, and why like one of the healthiest, but also one of the things you can do that's going to make you the happiest is by detaching any kind of sense of ownership that you have over the things that you kind of buy and accumulate over time. And kind of like what I'm doing going forward with that kind of in mind. So what does all of this mean? Well, for the past like 4 years, I've had this little like Renault Clio that's just been kicking about on the drive, but obviously like living in London and stuff, I've never really had that much of a chance to use it, right? I'm taking the tube, and even when I've come home at summer or like holidays, whatever, I've oftentimes just taken my laptop and, traveled somewhere else, in the whole digital nomad thing, so I've never really needed the car. But even still, over this weekend when I was like, oh, well, I should probably sell the car, there was still a part of me that was a bit like, oh, I don't want to sell that. That was like the car that I had, when my like ex-girlfriend came and visited, and we like travelled around, went on the motorway for the first time, because it's like holds all of these memories to a thing, like an object, which is kind of stupid, but I think we do that anyway. So even though that I know like the right thing to do is just sell the car, pocket like the few grand or whatever, and then use that to fund my travels, or just like reinvest back into the business, there was still like a big part of me that was like, you know what, I don't really want to give that up. So I think in many respects, it's kind of just teaching me, or that I suppose like reminded me that once you let your possessions have that kind of control over you, then you don't own them, they own you. Think about that. And obviously, like if you have like loads of different things in your life, then all of a sudden you're controlled by all of these different things. And I think that's what stops a lot of people from taking any sort of risk, because all of a sudden then if you've got like a car or a house or loads of belongings in your room, then you're less likely to be able to say like, oh, you know what, let me just go off to Italy, let me go off to Mexico, let me do a bit of like traveling, let me start this business, let me take this risk, because all of a sudden you've got all of these things, and stacked up, they start to own you and dictate the decisions that you can make in your life. And I just think like this is something and a problem that so many like that I don't want to face. So what's the solution, right? Because obviously like, I want to build a business. I want to make like a very nice amount of money in the process and help people and just have fun along the way. But like, what is the actual utility of money then if it's not to buy things? Well, I think there's a few different answers, a few different things like I've been thinking about. I don't want to die crossing the road. And I think the best way you can spend money is on like experiences. So I've never regretted a trip that I've done abroad. Even one time when I was in Buenos Aires, like I hated it, but I still had had an experience that gave me a lot of stories. And at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, remember what, like, I was thinking the only thing you own is your mind up here. And part of that is all the stories and memories that you have. And even though, they might have been and gone, you've still got those memories and stories to share with the people, your loved ones in your life. So that's number one. Now, number two is actually one of my favorite things to do. Like yesterday I went out for dinner with my sister, her boyfriend Jack, and my granddad. I just paid for everyone. And like me from a few years ago, probably wouldn't have had the money, like, so I was just a uni student, right? I wouldn't have had the money where it would have been like a no-brainer. I would have had to be like, ooh. So that's really nice, just having like the level of financial floor, I guess, to be able to do that. But also, I find like, oftentimes, whenever you buy things or spend money on yourself to, you know, buy things for your own life, yeah, you get a bit of happiness in a moment. Like, yeah, I enjoy buying this like weekday shirt, and I enjoy buying like this, I guess, jacket or whatever, but like, it doesn't give me that much like happiness. Whereas buying things, experiences, whatever, just for other people that you really care about, gives you like 100 times more fulfillment from it. I don't know why. I'm sure there's some like science to it. But that's just the way like my brain works. I think most people's do too. So yeah, they're the two things. I think the final thing, maybe doesn't apply to you, but it certainly applies to me, is I'm thinking more of like, over these, you know, starting in like June time, I'll be traveling the world, right? Like digital nomading. Yeah, coming back to England every now and then, but for the most part, living out of like, ideally, as few like backpacks and suitcases as possible. And that's one of the things, right? It's like, if I'm, you know, trying to climb through the stairs in Palermo, like, am I going to want 4 suitcases full of all the shit that I've accumulated in my life? Probably not, right? Like, so on that note, I just think the fewer stuff that you can have and the fewer stuff you need to like, not even just live, but like be happy, the better. So, hopefully, like, as I'm on the main road, that's convinced you why, you know, you want to limit the possessions you actually own, and instead spend your money on experiences and spend your money on buying things for your friends and family. And in that way, you know, you won't have that same problem I see most people do, and it just keeps them trapped. And at the end of the day, like I always say, you're never going to regret those stories that you have, even if it, you know, doesn't turn out the way you want it. But yeah, adios. I'll see you in the next one.